Today on the show, we're exploring how to grow your business with fractional employees. It's a model whereby you can hire top-notch professionals that work part-time for you and other employers during the week. I'm Lisa Smith, and this is Focus on Business. We've been talking today about the pain of growth. So one of the things that's wonderful about EOS is it helps that person who started a business as an entrepreneur, now they're in the second stage and they're experiencing this pain. What you need to know is that this pain is common. It's not unique to you. We've got Rob Fowler here. Rob, what do you tell business owners?
Well, I think what you just said is exactly right. Everybody who starts a business thinks theirs is completely unique. The issues of growth are actually common to companies, and others have done it before. And I think one of the things we tell them is get the experience from others, other business owners, other companies, other people who've grown a business. Years ago, somebody gave me a book called No Man's Land, When You're Too Small to Be Big and Too Big to Be Small, that I think perfectly describes the gap of systems and people and process that companies must go through. So you've had a bookkeeper, and you're going to need a chief financial officer, and how you get through that space. That's the common set of issues. It's systems, people, process that every business can learn from others who've gone through it before.
Right, and when you're in it and you haven't been there yet, you don't know when the time is that you're experiencing problems with the bookkeeper or the technology person that really needs to be a technology VP now. Right. The best way to alleviate some of that worry and question is other owners.
Well, and I think what we've taken sort of this brand of owner to owner. We believe if we can bring business owners together to learn from each other. So my advice is always get in the room with other business owners. You can do that through us, or you can do it through a CEO network. But use that resource of other business owners. Right,
and SBAM, even with a free membership, you can go to the owner-to-owner events quarterly, is that correct?
You can, and we're going to do them all across the state. So go to our website, sbam.org.
Okay, I got to tell you, that's when I really felt like I found my people, is when I started to come to owner events. Thank you. I'm so excited about this show. This week we'll help you bridge that gap for when you're too big to be small, but you're too small to be big. You need to hire professionals that have already proven success, but you may not need them full-time, or you can't afford them full-time. Please meet Sarah Jennings from Maynard Custerison, Don Lee, owner of Chief Outsiders, Teresa Renault, owner, Outsourced Sales Management Services, and Rick Wilson, founder of the Integrator Group. It's good to have you all here. So can one of you define the difference between fractional employment or part-time or contract labor services?
Sure. It does get kind of confusing because there's a lot of different terms applied to people that don't work full-time in a business. So I think probably the biggest way that they're different is project-based work typically is more part-time, is more contract consultants. So they kind of have a specific purpose for being there, and the work that they're doing has already been defined. Whereas more a fractional or fractional is the ability to come in and you get to join in with the team, but you also sort of define the work to be done. It's not clearly laid out for everyone.
Yeah, I'm very struck by this idea. I actually have a fractional C-level person in my organization, and that person, I really talk about them as if they're staff. Our staff looks at them as staff. We invite them to parties when they can come, but having that one day a week of somebody who really knows what they're doing has been interesting, and that's why I'm so excited about the show today, because it's such a great idea. So let's quickly, tell me what it is you guys all do. Sarah, you want to go first?
Sure. So we are fractional CFOs at Maynard Custerison. We have a lot of different functionality, but really what we go in and do is help those businesses, like you said, that they're too big to be small. And they need that help with projections, with cash flow analysis, with forecasting out where they want to be in 10 years financially. How do you get there? So it's really fun to be part of that team, because oftentimes they don't have the resources internally to do that.
And with Chief Outsiders, we're basically growth advisors. And so we'll come in and build growth engines, so there's stability. So it's not random acts of marketing, it's actually purposeful marketing, and working with sales and with the whole team, we're able to implement and allow that engine to run. That's what's so cool about being a fractional CMO.
And outsourced sales management services is part of a national organization called Sales QB. We follow a 6-step process that starts off with an audit where we identify gaps inside a business system. And then we actually come on site a day or so a week and provide sales management services and or other project-based areas that are identified inside best practices gaps.
And mine is defined as a fractional integrator, but it's maybe other terms you might recognize would be COO, or it might be more in terms of a general manager. But it's basically that person who works with the visionary of the company, the founder generally, and takes care of all of the day-to-day kinds of things. The difference is just doing it once a week as a fractional is kind of cool because I get to work with multiple businesses, and so I have different clients. I do that every day of the week in different industries, so it's great.
I'm curious to know if there's some kind of a common trigger that happens when, before you get the phone call, this has happened inside of a business, and or you come in and nobody even knows they need you. How does that relationship start to evolve? If I'm an owner, I'm hearing this maybe for the first time and thinking, oh, I would love to build a sales department, or I really could use some help on the marketing side, especially since it's digital. What are those triggers that happen that we can help owners recognize?
We often get the call after they get no's. So if their accountant says, no, we can't do that new project, or no, you shouldn't do that service line, and as an owner, as a visionary, they know, well, we can, but financially, I don't know how to make that work. So we'll get the call, I just need help structuring it. What does this business plan look like? What does that projection and cash flow look like so that we can do this? How do we do the feasibility study to make it happen?
I usually get a call when somebody recognizes that they have an under-managed or nobody managing their sales department, and that's a very painful and expensive position to be in. Small business owners really suffer from a diseconomy of scale because they find it hard to justify a 6-figure type manager, but they really need somebody with that level of expertise. So having fractional services to come in and create accountability, create the sales coaching, create the system to help them get that 6-figure result is incredibly valuable for them.
And I think mine is probably a lot more about, it's usually coming from the visionary. So it's the person who started the company and they've kind of either grown it to a point and they're kind of stuck a little bit like you mentioned before, but it's just not in their nature. It's not in their DNA to do the types of things that I do. And so they've done their best and they're great at dreaming and coming up with great ideas, but in the end, they're not great at all the execution parts. So they recognize there's this gap there. And so that's mostly when I get that call, is we're kind of stuck and, I can't believe I'm still doing this 20 years later. I thought I'd have it all figured out by now. And sometimes just a different person with a little different skill set can come in and fill that gap for them.
And that's so true, because we're so working in our business. I actually ran a business for 10 years and sold it, and I was so focused in, but when I'd bring people from the outside, I'd get new perspective. Yeah. And that new perspective allowed me to think different, and when I was able to think different, I was able to act different, and to act different, I kind of energized my employees, and then I start getting into a growth pattern. So bringing folks in like you guys, like I used to do, and I'm now going in, I see my value. A lot of it is just bringing a different thought process to the table.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of curious people too, so we ask a lot of questions.
You have to be.
Yeah, I hear a lot from people. They're just kind of say things like, well, I never thought of that. It's like, well, yeah, because it's just not something you've had experience with, or it's not something that you've even been forced to answer the question before. So yeah, I think that's what's really helpful about not just fractional, because that's maybe a way just to do it without having to hire a full-time person and all the expense and things. But sometimes we've got kind of varied backgrounds, I think, most of us that do fractional, and we like the idea of working with different people. So you got all sorts of experience that you wouldn't have gotten.
And we learn from other clients.
Right, that's right. That's a great one.
Yeah, from the visionary perspective, as you were talking about, as your business grows, and I've certainly experienced this, you decide, okay, I can do marketing, I'm going to figure that out, I'm going to dig in there, I'm going to get it all done. oh, and also I can figure out sales, I'm going to do that. Oh, by the way, I can figure out accounting, I'm going to hire a bookkeeper, and I'm not going to do my invoices anymore. I can do that. So you just load on and load on and load on. And as you grow and grow, then you have to have somebody come in and take over those responsibilities. You bring somebody in, and now you have to train them to do what you did. And usually those people are not proven success professionals. They may or may not be the right person, and you're continually bumping around in these relationships to hand this off. And then I got to get somebody. So I find one of you guys. What is the next step? How does that relationship then happen? Is it a contract that you sign? Is it forever you're my fractional? Is it 6 months? What do those look like?
Definitely, I think that the first step is conversations and building that trusted relationship, because without that, you're not going anywhere. So what we do is we come in and we're curious, we ask a lot of questions to figure out what the challenges are. And I think one of the biggest challenges we see oftentimes, unfortunately, is you talk about handing off these things that you've created and these processes that you've built that might not be the most efficient way, because that's not the business owner's skill set, So it sometimes is a challenge for that realization to say, well, there's a great way that's way more efficient that we can help you get this done, So it's figuring out where to start. Like a puzzle.
Using your past experience.
Right, exactly. Yep.
We like to invest in an audit, and it's a fairly comprehensive audit, maybe not something like a McKinsey audit, but we do spend almost 2 days worth of time a day of interviewing, not just the CEO, but the leadership team as well. It's amazing the different answers you get and the facts that come out from those types of detailed interviews. And then, like everybody else, we put the scope together based on gaps and priorities, and we actually provide here's where the gaps are, here's are things that you can do yourself, or here are things that we can work on together. And quite often I am doing upstream and downstream networking to bring in additional resources based on findings that come out of that audit.
Yeah, I think for me, a same starting point. I think we all have the same thing. We all have some sort of a day that we come in and gather a lot of information. What's maybe a little different about how I approach it and what I've experienced, there's different ways to do fractional too. I come in straight up talking to people. It's one of my core values is I'm there to help and mentor, but I'm also there to work myself out of a job. So it's sometimes people are looking for that long-term, albeit fractional, and I'm purposefully not doing that. I love coming in and helping people get the team built stronger, better, and then be able to move on and help another business doing that. So I think that's interesting too. I think some of yours is more long-term.
Yep, we do both. So definitely we have some long-term because you can get the whole financial package, but it's really exciting when you help a company grow so much that they need somebody internal full-time. I mean, that makes our job worthwhile, right?
And by doing the audits, by doing the interviewing, you uncover value that even the owners don't even know they have.
Yeah.
Because we're on the outside and we have outside perspectives, and you have something really cool here? Or do you know that if you add this and this together, this could really explode this idea? Have you thought of that? No. And that's what you're doing the audits and really getting to have genuine interest. We can really make a difference. And I've seen it. And hey, when I started this 2 years ago, I was like, gee whiz, who would want to hire me? Now I'm having a ball because I'm learning too, right? And really working on their behalf and advocating and getting to know their organization deeper than just the marketing and sales aspect of it.
So let's say I hire any one of you. I mean, really, any one of you is going to provide a tremendous amount of value, to a small to medium-sized business. From your personal or professional experience, once I hire you, what's the best advice that you could give me so that we can hit the ground running? We break down the barriers. What do you run into over and over again that if you could tell a leadership team or an owner, do this for success when you hire someone fractionally? What would that be?
Over communicate and embed us as quick as you can, and let's run this like a project manager. Let's kind of have action items and goals as we go through week to week, and over communicate. It's now you've got really good ideas going back and forth. You build trust faster, and it's really so. What do you guys think? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Also, integrate you with the team. Sometimes when you go in, if there's already a built-in team, there can be kind of a friction there. If they have, from an accounting perspective, if they have an accounting manager or a controller, and then there's that tension. You're bringing in a fractional CFO. So integrate us as the team so that we can start to build those relationships instead of just treat us like that vendor or that outside contractor, because that makes the whole relationship a bit more difficult, I think.
I think one of the best practices I like to launch from is the communication message to the team jointly. So why are we doing this? What are our objectives? What are we hoping to accomplish together, inclusive of the team? Because when you just launch without everybody's involvement and everybody knowing what part they're going to play in it, at least from a sales perspective, it needs to really be very inclusive. So that's been very successful. We launched together and full disclosure on all the objectives.
Yeah, I like the together part too, because frankly, it's one of the things that I use as a gauge, because I think all of us, we kind of don't work with everybody. So there's kind of that great thing about being fractional is we get to choose as well when we're trying to find a good fit for ourselves. So one of the things I'm always looking for is someone that, you that would come in and say, I need some help, making sure that you're clear, this is something that we got to do together. You can't just come in and say, I've had people say, well, I just want you to come in and fix everything, and I'll be over here. It's like, no, this is, so you have to do it. That together you got to be a team. And so as in my role as a integrator and in a COO kind of role, it's joined at the hip with the visionary and the CEO, and so the team has to see that too. You have to really make sure that you're up for that.
So it's kind of interesting. I'll say, listen, dude or dudette, I'm not here to take your job. I'm here to make you a rock star.
Right.
And I have an objective as the whole firm or company does. That's what we're pointing. So I always put that in front of what our purpose and goals are to everybody. So even when I'm having meetings, I have purpose goal. Remember, we're here to do this. Let's not focus on me. Let's focus at the task at hand.
Yeah.
Then people are more accepting, and then they start coming to my office like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about it? Then you're part of the team.
Yeah, I'm always just asking, how can I help?
Yeah.
And when you do that, and then you actually
Serve.
You give them a few of that, and they see that, oh yeah, they're not here to cause trouble, they're actually here to help me be better, then you kind of got that buy-in. So yeah.
And I'm a text freak, so I love texting them.
Yeah.
Hey, good job on the meeting yesterday. Because I'm a cheerleader too. I want them to win.
Yeah.
We all do. I met you guys. I mean, we want our clients to win. We're an advocate.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's the beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I see that same trait in many people that do this, is that mentoring, that you really enjoy that. And I think that maybe comes with experience. Maybe that's just a natural trait that makes you successful in this world.
And I think that's one of the elements that's challenging for the business owner. It's hard for them to have that capacity. They can't squeeze another second out of their 40-hour week.
Right.
And taking the time and having the disposition to do mentoring is almost like too big of a mind shift. Some do, but really having an outsider come in and take a pause and see people see the good first, that rather than all the I should have fired them 6 months ago. No, let's see if we can squeeze some more good out of them.
Yeah, because we don't have the history.
Right.
We can be more dispassionate about it. So.
Yeah, you have leaders that are visionary, that have no details, so the whole back end is a mess.
Right.
Or you have some that are engineering or accounting that's so focused on ROI, and you're like, hey,
No
loosen the
social
tie
skills.
up a little bit.
Yeah.
We got to get sales. You got to be entrepreneurial, and so we have to read the room, and that's again for people like us. That's why we've been successful, is because we're able to read the room and understand what our clients really need. Again, the goals are important.
You bring up such an interesting point about that owner perspective, and from my side of the aisle here, you really have to bring a vulnerability to the relationship. You have to recognize every day in every meeting with a fractional professional that they're there to point out sometimes what you've done wrong. So rather than defending it, although you can, and you can certainly say this is why this has evolved this way, you simply have to see it from that other perspective and allow for the fractional professional to do what they do, because you wouldn't have brought them in. But people are messy. They start to dig in, and sometimes it's not the owner, but the team around you that starts to do that. So we do have just a few more minutes. What is the best advice you can give around this to an owner?
So the best advice in terms of maybe whether you should do it or not, I think one of the hesitations a lot of people have is there is a price for this. I mean, we all offer our service, there's something that we do, and sometimes that cost seems like it's a big thing to bite off because you haven't been spending that. But the hope would be is that you can sort of see that, weigh that against the value that you think you're going to get. I think it's just really important to not be, don't be scared off by that, because there's usually something good's going to come out of it.
You know, from my perspective, that being sales, and the sales has really changed as a science, and it's tightly integrated with operations and marketing and the whole business system. As a small business owner, you probably don't have the skill set. It's just you really need to hire an expert to come in and look at it holistically, and then to have somebody managing your team for accountability. So I guess know what you don't know.
Right. Understand your challenges and what you can and cannot do, and then just be a life learner as an owner, and really bring people in that can help teach and guide your business.
Yep, I think all of that is great, and the only thing I'd add is be open to the conversation and make sure you've got that great rapport and relationship with the person. I think that above skill set and technical abilities is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's got to be a good fit.
Yep.
Well, I hope people have learned as much as I have with this show. It's so great for you to take time out of your day
Oh,
to come
thank
here.
you.
Thank
This
you
was
for
great.
having us,
I
yeah.
learned too.
Okay, everybody needs IT.
Yes.
We know that. The question is, do you bring it in-house? Do you hire somebody in a big contract? How do you get IT?
Right. So the most important thing is to find the trusted advisor, and it's not somebody necessarily that has the right technical skills. That's important, but it has to be an organization that has people that have culture, that work with your culture. If you have that, just like hiring an employee, if you have a cultural issue with employees, it's going to be bad, regardless of how talented that person might be. So you need to find the organization, and you don't do that through looking at papers and looking at pricing. You need to go meet, okay? Go make some calls, do your research, find companies from the internet, or get referrals. That's a great way to find outside IT, and then go interview them, just like you're hiring an employee. Don't worry about the contract words, don't worry about necessarily about pricing. It's all negotiable, just like hiring an employee. So that's how to do it.
So if you want IT, you first have to make the decision. If maybe I'm 15, 20 employees, and I can't afford a big contract with IT, I can't afford to bring somebody in-house for that big ticket full-time position, is there a fractional option?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you're looking for. So you get a whole team. Typically when you're outsourcing IT, you get a whole team. You don't get one person that has limited skills. You get the team that's got a broad variety of skills. And then you pick and choose. You find, again, the right company that's going to offer the types of things that you need. Okay? Specifically, I only need somebody here for a couple hours a week, or I need emergency service after hours, or I need help desk, or I need someone that I can buy equipment from and licensing from. All of those are considerations. So you have to figure it out as to what you need.
All right, great. So I guess the point of the matter is figure out what you need and then
And then go research it, and then do it just like you're hiring an employee. And don't get hung up on the contract, and don't get hung up on the pricing.
Focus on Tech, brought to you by Providence, making technology easier.
Today we've been talking about how to add expert services, skilled, experienced wisdom to your company without the weight of the long-term expense. So fractional services is what we're talking about here. And in that, that's a lot of good business decisions. How is that going to translate into your relationship with your banker?
Well, that's a great topic, and I think if there was ever an industry that sort of pioneered fractional institutional knowledge, it's really the banking industry. We really are there on a part-time basis, full-time, for our clients. They don't need our services on a day-to-day basis. They need our services when the time is right for them to consider a next project, a next opportunity, the next decision they're making in their lives. So our opportunity to join them on a part-time basis to help them with their full-time jobs is really what we do every day.
Let's talk about the role of the banker-business relationship. Can you give consultation? Can you be a consultant for a business owner?
Our ability to be a direct consultant, no, but we do spend time at the table. It's really required of us to be at the table with our clients. We need to be at the table with their CPA, with their business manager, with their financial advisor. They need our expertise when it comes to designing a platform for launching their next project or going to the next stage. Our knowledge comes into this in the fact that we have expertise for generations, in most cases, that can help them avoid unknown potholes that may be in their plan, different structure that comes from us in the way that we design their relationship with us, whether that's on the depository side or the lending side. Both things have an opportunity, or both directions have an opportunity to play an integral role in how they get to that next step.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for your advice today.
You're very welcome.
Focus on Banking, brought to you by Michigan Bankers Association.
Hi, Denise. Hi. We have been talking today about fractional resources, hiring high-level professionals in order to bring your business to the new scale-up. From a legal perspective, how do we treat those people in terms of labor laws, employment agreements, handbooks? What is somebody who comes to your business one day a week and manages staff and runs meetings, how does that look on paper?
Sure. So I'm going to assume for our discussion that they have not just you that they're working with. Okay. So if they're just your employee for one day a week, God bless them, and that's an employee. But assuming that they are doing this for more than one company, okay, and that they are a fractional resource for more than one company, they would be an independent contractor. So you'd want to have an independent contract agreement with them that very specifically sets forth that they are not an employee. Okay, because you don't want to be having to pay employment tax on them, and you don't want to have to be beholden to all of the labor laws that you would have to for an employee. Okay, that being said, you can set forth the parameters of their scope of employment or scope of work, let's just say. In that agreement, you can make it very clear that they have to pay their own taxes. For example, that's not something that you want to have to figure out later after they've come into your place for 6 months. And then you also want to make sure that even though they may be an independent contractor, when they're there and you say they're managing staff, for example, that they are subject to your employee handbook. And that's something that you can still do even though they're an independent contractor.
So have them sign off as if they're an employee?
Well, so they would be signing off as an independent contractor because that would be a contract that they're signing with you, okay? But they would be able to be subject to some of your rules and policies inside your company that would be included in the employee handbook. You want to make sure that that's all standardized.
I see. Excellent. Thank you.
Welcome.
Focus on Law, brought to you by Policella and Associates, PLLC.
Thank you for joining us. We do this show to provide ideas, tools, and resources to help Michigan businesses find innovative ways to grow and prosper.